I will tell you this. I sing Johnny Cash songs.
Really?
I'm a big Johnny Cash guy. I sing at karaoke bars all the time.
You got that deep, smoky voice. I could
Yeah.
see how it would work.
So Ring of Fire, Walk the Line, Man in Black, Folsom Prison. So if you at some karaoke bar in New York, you might see me in the back singing to everybody. So I sneak in, and go, okay, anybody know me? Okay, I'll go sing. That's how I get my entertainment. So
That's awesome.
so I was in Nashville about a year ago. I don't know if you've been on the Broadway street down there. It's crazy. And I walked in a karaoke bar and it was packed. And I go up to the guy, the DJ. I said, okay, what number am I if I sing a little Johnny Cash? He goes, oh, you're 97. I go, here's a $50 bill. I go, what number am I now? He goes, you're number 2. I was in and out of there in 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
Welcome to the weekly edition of the Payne Points of Wealth podcast, the podcast that addresses all the pain points that come along with creating, growing, and sustaining your wealth. Hosted by the family wealth experts of Payne Capital Management, Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. Please send us any questions or comments you may have to questions@paynecm.com. And please enjoy this week's episode.
But just to start in the beginning, Gary,
Okay.
your I guess your background and just in terms of all the different businesses you've run, I mean, it's a pretty eclectic mix. I mean, from biotech, you've done like water resource business. You had a midstream pipeline, it looked like business.
That's right.
How did you get into just old school mining?
I was a banker for 9 years in Dallas. So when I say banker, not an investment banker, but a commercial banker, I actually did loans.
So that's why you have personality. Because when you first said banker, I just couldn't figure that
Yeah,
out.
no, not. I was the guy you went to borrow money from, and I decided when I was young, I was going to college at night at SMU in Dallas. Just to be completely honest, one day I was at the copy machine and the head of HR left the pay scale of every officer in the bank from the chairman down. And so I looked at it and I saw all the energy guys made twice as much money as any officer of the bank. So SMU, I'm now doing energy. That's how I got in energy, honestly. And so I started focusing on it and became a vice president of the energy division of a large Canadian bank. So I left banking at age 27 with 9 years of banking under my belt.
That's wild. So it's a young age to have that much banking experience.
I was the youngest vice president of Mercantile Bank of Canada and the bank's 150-year history.
What was your secret? Like, what did you do differently that you became so successful so young?
I think I speak sometimes to MBAs at SMU where I'm on the board, and I tell them, look, the key to success is tenacity. One word. Keep at it. You're going to have failures. I can tell you I've had tons of failures, but I never gave up. I kept going. Because if you're not in the game and then the opportunity comes around, you can't do anything about it. So if you say, oh, I sure wish I had that cushy job at the corporation where I get my paycheck every 2 weeks, well, then be happy with that. But if you want to be a true entrepreneur and really do something special with your life, make a lot of money, have that opportunity at least, you got to be in the game. And so that's what I tell people, just because the first 3 years when I left banking in 1985, June 30 of 85, my mom was my first employee. I did a leverage buyout of a well service company for $1.2 million.
Oh my God.
I put $1,000 down. That's all I had. And $1,000, signed a note. I was single. I go, I'm going to roll with it. Here I'm 27 running this well service company. I'm the youngest guy in the whole company. And everything was great for 6 months. January 1986 hit. Oil went to $11 a barrel. I had all this business, but nobody was paying their bills. And so I would come into the office and my mom would go, honey, you sure you don't want to shut it down today? I go, I am not giving up. I mean, I had the IRS at the door. I had creditors at the door.
Oh my God.
I couldn't pay people. I mean, it was horrible for 3 years. 3 years. So what did I do to survive? I found 2 lawyers. I said, we're going to go file mechanics liens on all the properties that we're owed money on that we did work on. We're just going to take over the wells. So I got to know every deputy sheriff and judge in about a 5-county area of north central Texas, and I started foreclosing on wells.
So you had the collateral. The
Because-
wells were your collateral
yeah,
for the business that you
when
were
they
doing.
didn't pay their bill, you
Yeah.
file a mechanics lien, and then you turn that into a judgment, and you turn that into a foreclosure. I had guns pulled on me. I mean, it was a wild, wild west, and but I survived. And then all of a sudden, 1988, here a deal comes by. I go, there's a great deal. I took it. Another deal came. Another deal came. I went public in 1990 from a broken company in 1990 on the Boston Stock Exchange, 18 cents a share. And I'll never forget. I went to my mom, my two key executives. And I said, guys, I know you've held about $50,000 in paychecks. I can give you stock now. I think the stock's going to do really well. It's 18 cents a share. I said, I can pay you cash too. I got cash.
They want the cash.
My mom goes, I love you, honey, but I think I'll take that cash. So I remind her that she's still alive today. I remind her that at 88. She goes, I never did that. I go, oh, yes, you did. So anyway, that stock went from 18 cents to $17.70 a share. Took me 15 years, 85 to year 2005. I sold that company for $2.2 billion. And when I went on the New York, I went from the Boston, which no longer exists today, to the American, to the New York Stock Exchange. When I rang the bell, the CEO of the New York Stock Exchange says, Gary, we've researched your company, and you're the first company in U.S. history of any companies that's gone from the Boston to the American to the New York. And our average annual shareholder return for the 15 years we're public, 1990 to 2005, was 37%.
So you obviously beat the S&P 500
We
over
beat
that
it.
time frame.
Now, there were ups and downs. You remember, oil and gas is extremely volatile.
Yeah.
I dealt with $11 oil and $122 oil. And so you take the relation of the energy industry to critical minerals. It's the same thing, other than here, the business I'm in, it's a finite product. We don't have any antimony. It's not like OPEC is over there opening and shutting the spigots.
Yes.
That's what I dealt with my whole life. I had no control over Saudi Arabia, Iran, Venezuela, whomever was opening the spigots. Here, truly in the critical mineral space, is a shortage.
When you got into that space, was that kind of the thesis that you had? This is something that essentially there's a finite amount. Obviously, the business here, maybe talk a little bit about that. Like, what happened to the mineral business in the U.S. that China took all of it?
I wish I was that smart to have recognized it, but many times business success is luck, being in the right place at the right time. Now, I can't tell you I ever predicted China in September of last year would say, hey, no more antimony shipments to any country in the world, including the United States. And guess what? Our Department of Defense was getting all their antimony from the People's Republic of China. So to say that we were caught flat-footed as a country is a mild understatement.
Well, I mean, what's it like to get a call from the government that says, hey, we want to get a $265 million contract with your business overnight?
When China made its announcements a year ago, September, my phone started ringing off the hook from the Department of Defense. First call, there's 3 people on the call. And, I'm just now figuring out this company. I don't even know what the heck's going on. And, I go, okay, well, what do y'all need? And they said, hey, can we have another call tomorrow? I go, sure. 11 people on the call. At that point, I knew there's something going on here. And so then they said, hey, can we come look at your facilities? I go, sure. So we had 3 teams from the DOD fly out to Thompson Falls, Montana, where our smelter is. And I quickly learned that we have the only 2 smelters, not only in the United States and Canada, but North America and the Western Hemisphere.
So you didn't even know this as
I didn't
someone
know
who's
that.
running this company.
I had no idea. I was trying to figure out what antimony was. I just make sure it sounded like alimony. And I go, well, what is this antimony stuff?
So what is antimony if it's not a lady trying to take your money?
Right, exactly. Well, then I, of course, learned how important antimony is for the military. So let's talk about that for a second. There's not a bullet fired in the world without antimony. You got lead by itself as a very soft material, and the antimony is what hardens the bullet to make it penetrate whatever you're shooting at. So bullets, laser guided missiles, night vision cameras, night vision binoculars, submarines, on and on and on, quantum computing, roofing, fire. It's a fire retardant for roofing materials. It's used in solar panels. The shininess on this phone is antimony. All these cords in this room have antimony in them. That's what stops them from catching on fire. It goes on and on. Your battery in your car, lead, water, plastic, and antimony. Those are the 4 ingredients of your battery. You cannot have a battery in your car without antimony. So on and on and on. And it's not a big ingredient for all these products I mentioned. It's a very small ingredient, but it's very necessary.
They all need it.
All have to have it. And there's been no replacement. There's some antimony, synthetic antimony coming out of India, and it sucks. So there's no replacement. So when China, which controlled 75% of worldwide antimony production as well as refining, said no more antimony to anybody else in the world, prices went from $5 a pound to $30 a pound within 6 months.
Wow.
So 5 times increase. I mean, I never saw that in oil. I mean,
yeah.
And then China has a history of driving prices down of critical minerals and rare earths, and then knocking everybody out of the business and then raising the price. So my concern was, okay, well, how long do I have this opportunity? Is this going to, change in 6 months or a year where they're going to flood the market?
Right.
And now I know that that's never going to happen. I got 5 reasons I can tell you.
Yeah. What are the 5 reasons?
Well, number 1, every day that we're in the market buying antimony from countries like Chad, Peru, Bolivia, Mexico, Kazakhstan, Canada, our only competition is China.
Wow.
We're dealing with China everywhere we go. I mean, they're out there with suitcases of money buying antimony. I mean, it's unbelievable. They're making promises of goods. They'll build roads. I mean, they're doing everything they can to get control of antimony. So that's number 1. Number 2, we started bringing antimony in from Australia from a company, and the first 2 loads got to Mexico fine. The third load got transloaded in a city in China called Bidong, and Chinese customs confiscated my antimony that I paid for.
No way.
And that happened in April. May, June, July, I got the State Department involved. I got the Department of Defense, now the Department of War involved. I got the Trump administration involved.
Yeah.
Finally, a month ago, they released it. Not to me. My name's all over it, U.S. Antimony Corporation. They sent it back to Australia. That material is finally supposed to arrive in Mexico October 13th. So it's been stuck with China holding it. Now, why? Why did they do that? They've never done it before on any other material, but they grabbed my antimony and held it.
Concerned about the competition?
That antimony used to all go to them, and I beat them out.
Ah, okay.
They didn't like it.
So is it because you have the refining capability here in the U.S.?
Yes.
So is it just you and China that have the main refining capability? That's wild.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Now, there were lots of other refineries before, smelters, but they all went out of business because China drove the price down to below $5 a pound. Nobody could make any money. And then, of course, the United States had the EPA blocking all the mining in the U.S. and Canada. So nobody could make a buck. You couldn't get your permits. The BLM and the Forest Service wouldn't give you permits to do any kind of mining. So we drove the mining industry out of business in the United States and Canada.
Yeah.
It's all now trying to come back, especially with this administration.
Hey, hope you're enjoying the most recent episode of the Payne Points of Wealth podcast. Everything you hear on this podcast, along with some due diligence of your own, can help you get ahead financially literally at any stage of your journey. But if you want a more hands-on approach and you saved over $1 million for your retirement, Bob, Chris, Courtney, and I will run for you our total financial master plan, and we'll do that with no obligation or cost. Simply go to www.paynecm.com/financial plan or click the link below to see if you qualify for a free financial review. Well, this brings up a good question in general. Like, we're obviously investors for our clients, and one of the components of our portfolios as a hedge is commodities. Since you've obviously spent a lot of time in the commodity space, what's your more longer-term macro view for energy prices, other commodities, obviously like precious metals, critical minerals? Do you see like a big secular bull market in a lot of these different commodities, or what's your purview from a macro perspective?
Well, as an energy guy for 38 years,
Yeah.
I mean, I had 3 companies I took public on the New York Stock Exchange in the oil and gas and pipeline space.
We own energy pipelines, so we're a big fan.
Yeah, I built a pipeline from scratch. I'll tell you that story in a minute. So I'm a big believer still in fossil fuels. I mean, I never have digressed from that. Just in the last 90 days, I took a large position in a gas company because they're one of the largest producers in the U.S. I knew this. I've known the CEO for 30 years. And natural gas with LNG, because of the Trump administration, LNG is taken off again.
Yes.
We're obviously trying to take LNG away from Russia to hurt them. The European Union is finally realizing, hey, we can't be dependent upon Russian gas. Russia's already proven that. And
Yes.
so here we have these tremendous natural gas reserves in the United States, and we're now becoming the largest LNG exporter in the world. We're building the plants, Corpus Christi, Louisiana, all over. And so I really think natural gas I'm bullish on natural gas, even though it's $3.50 an MCF. But if you're over in Europe, you're paying $12-14 an MCF.
So just the demand going up as much as it, especially globally, should push the price up higher over time.
Yes.
Essentially, yeah.
And if you double price from $3.50 to $7, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think that's very possible. So I'm bullish there. With respect to minerals, if you look around the world, like we're involved in another critical mineral called cobalt.
Sure.
And cobalt is controlled by a country called Congo in Africa. 75% of the world cobalt reserves are in one country.
That's wild.
And guess who's there?
China.
Good answer. They have built their own refineries there. And guess what? The Congo, the DRC, they hate China. They've made it clear. They cut off all shipments of cobalt beginning in February. They just now leaking them out.
What is it about the Chinese that countries don't like? Like, what is it about the way you do business, or what is the specifics of that?
Have you ever done business with China?
I've never, no.
So when I sold Magnum Hunter 1 in 2005, I had a non-compete. They didn't want me doing anything in the oil and gas business for 2 years. So guess where I went? China. And I took 12 companies public out of China in the United States. So I was in Beijing, Shenzhen, Shanghai, all over China for 2 years. And had a great time. It was a great experience. And this was that's early. That's 06, 07, 08. And then I'd get out of a cab at 6'4", and they look at me like I was some
like a golden god.
Yeah, pulling my hair. I walk into a restaurant, everybody be eating their soup, and everybody just stop and look at me, like Gatchaman white dudes walked in. So they'd always
you ever became a rock star there.
They'd always put me in a back room, and have a little TV with rabbit ears, and had tinfoil wrapped around them, and a girl would come in there and turn on the TV. I'd be eating, and another girl would come in there and turn off the TV. This happened like 4 times. The TV would come on. I go, what is going on? Why do y'all keep turning the TV on? She goes, oh, they just think you're so handsome. They want to come look at you. So, okay, whatever.
That's so awesome.
Anyway, the moral of this story is I learned very quickly how the Chinese do business. They had 3 and 4 sets of books. We would require audits of these companies. I was buying these companies at 3 to 4 times EBITDA, take them public in the U.S. at 6-7 times EBITDA.
So it's just an arbitrage.
It's just an arbitrage because
Sure.
they didn't have access to our U.S. capital markets. So
Sure.
these were all reverse mergers, $50 to $150 million market cap.
Yeah, I remember there was a big.
It was a big
Yeah, there was a-
flood
there
of
was a-
them.
yeah, a
I
moment
did
for
that for 3. I made a lot of money. It was great. I had a lot of fun. And it's every kind of company you could imagine, casket companies to agriculture company, everything.
Yeah.
Then I took a company public on the New York Stock Exchange. I'm not going to name them because what I'm getting ready to say. It was a big wind turbine manufacturer. And they asked me to go on the board. And I go, I don't know, but okay, I did. Took them public on the New York. We'd never done one in the New York from China. They're all NASDAQ.
Yeah.
And I've been on the board a month and a half, and I get all these papers. My name's forged on all the board documents, you know?
Wow.
And I call the CEO up and go, hey, we're SEC, NYSE listed company, and my name is forged on all these documents. Oh, don't worry, no problem. I go, no, it is a problem. I don't do business this way. And so I resigned. I was so upset. I sold all my Chinese stocks, and that was right before the crash of '09. So here again, he did me a huge favor. I send him a Christmas card every year. Thank you very much for forging my signature, because I wouldn't have sold all my Chinese investment. But anyway, it just goes to show you a lot of people, these countries, I've heard it time and time again, you enter to a contract and they don't ever do what they say they're going to do. Extra charges,
Unethical
hard to do
business
business.
practices.
They're difficult to do business with and not very trustworthy, I guess is the best way to say it.
Well, it's interesting too, because you've also worked in alternative energy, and right now, obviously, the Trump administration is down on solar, wind. What's your perspective on that? Because obviously, being in the energy industry, is that still viable? Is the future of wind, solar still real, or at this point, is that kind of a dead industry?
It needs to stand on its own without government subsidies. The whole purpose of a government subsidy is to start a new industry out, give it legs. I mean, I will never forget in the oil and gas business, we had these coal tax credits. There's been tax credits for all kinds of industries, but they should go away. Well, we've given enough money away to the wind companies, the solar companies, the EV. Just look at the cars. That $7,500 credit for buying a electric car went away October 1. All the stocks are diving because guess what? They got to survive. So I think helping those industries get started is fine, but it needs to go away. And Trump is right, letting those things go away now.
Will they stand on their own feet eventually?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know why? They're forced to. They'll cut their costs,
right,
and they'll change their sales techniques and who their audience is, and they will eventually become profitable, or they won't survive.
Yeah, makes sense. And we know we need all hands on deck when it comes to energy. Demand's going to skyrocket over the course of next.
I don't think we've gotten too far on wind and solar to think that we're not going to use. I mean, that's crazy. But they need to stand on their own. And now that's part of the problem in the solar business. We're competing with China. China, as you know, is the largest solar panel manufacturer in the world. And that's one reason they also stopped antimony. Antimony is a very large piece of the Chinese solar panel market. And the biggest antimony mine in the world was in China, and it depleted a year ago.
That's why they're trying to get antimony from everyone else as well and stealing your shipments.
That's right. Now, I'm going to give you another reason that we'll never see antimony coming out of China. About 2 months ago, they arrested 18 people in China that were smuggling in the black market antimony. We've seen antimony sneak out of China in the black market. It goes through Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and arrested them. 2 got their heads cut off.
Wow.
They're serious. They don't want antimony. I'll never get to go back to China. My target's on my back. I mean, I'm not dumb enough to know that.
Your days of being
I don't even go to Southeast Asia. I don't even want to be in the Red Sea. I don't want to be over there.
What did the Trump administration do to help you get your shipment back?
I don't know. They didn't tell me. All I know is it got released. So they never said.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's wild.
Now, I don't know if you know, we just put on our board about 4 or 5 weeks ago, General Jack Keane. He's a 4-star general.
He's on Fox Business like every day.
Yeah.
I love listening to General.
He is so cool. I love that guy.
He seems so cool.
Yeah, to be his age, and he's so energetic. And believe me, he has got, the administration's ear. He's with Trump all the time. He called me when Trump was up in Alaska with Putin, 3-4 weeks ago, and said, hey, I'm going to be tied up for the next 3 days. I'm helping him negotiate with Putin. So,
wow.
And then he lets me know he can't talk to me for a couple of days. He's going to be over in the Royal Palace with Trump, in England. So, I mean, the guy's connected.
Yeah.
So I'm actually using him right now on something. Hopefully he can help me with. So we had our first board meeting Friday of last week where he was actually on the on the board meeting, and he told me, he says, at the end, he was very complimentary. He said, this was the most exciting board meeting I've ever had of all the boards I've been on.
And I feel like you get a compliment from Jack Keane is a big deal. I feel like that guy doesn't compliment lightly.
Yeah. No, it took me 60
He's
days,
no nonsense.
60 days to convince him, to do it. And people go, well, how'd you get General Keane on your board? I go, well, I was watching Fox News one day, and I go, that's the guy I want, and I had talked to 2 other generals that I just wasn't excited about. And I called him up, and
You just called him? How'd you get his
cold
number?
call.
Cold call.
And I tell people that all the time. My
Love
mama
that.
always said, honey, you don't get it unless you go asking for it. I went and asked for it, and I got it.
That's how I got you on my podcast today,
Yeah,
man.
there you go.
Beautiful. If you just take a step back, I'm curious, obviously you took this big leap from a banker to all of a sudden you start this energy company. Like, how did you grow up, and how did it really, I guess, affect your views on money, how you handle risk with money, and just your views overall when it comes to financial, anything financial related?
There's no question that my banking career gave me an insight on finance that I never had before. And so I think that's helped me my whole life. And so as a executive that's run now 4 public companies, I guess that's five public companies now.
Wow.
I've raised about $8.5 billion on Wall Street in my life.
Yeah.
And that's been common, preferred, debt, warrants, every kind of thing you can imagine. Some bankers love me, but most hate me because
Because you know the banking game.
I know
Yeah.
how to negotiate and I know what to do.
Yeah. But how did you, what was it about your youth, or like, what did you learn about money when you're younger? Like, where did that risk-taking bug come from? Because a lot of people that go into commercial banking, they don't typically become entrepreneurs. I think that's a really, that's a unique jump. So, I guess, when you're younger, how did that affect that?
I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit in me since I was young. So, I don't know if you're born with that or if that's something you learn. I've always been a risk taker too. Look, you got to swing at the fences occasionally. I think as I've gotten older, there's no question I mitigate my risk a lot more. I've made enough mistakes that I know, hey, I don't want to go down that path again, and I've made mistakes where I was too leveraged, so you look at our balance sheet today, 70 million of cash and no debt.
That's amazing.
It's pretty amazing. And we're making money. We're profitable. That's one reason that Kramer mentioned this. He goes, this is the only mining company I can find that has revenues, cash flow, EBITDA, and guess what? Net earnings.
Were your parents risk takers when it came to money, or what did they teach you about money that you?
No, not my mother for sure.
We know she took the cash.
She still got the stock in my first company that's changed hands like 3 times. She's good. I'm not selling it, she's done well. I'm not complaining, but CDs, she's very, very non-risk, or she's risk adverse. My dad was, he was a accomplished businessman in the financial world. He ran a large finance company. As he got older, though, he took some risk and he lost, and so he ended up passing away broke. I was supporting my dad, so
wow.
So I've witnessed that in my family where people made a lot of money and then lost it. If you look at most successful men, especially in Texas, like Boone Pickens and people, John Connolly, they made it and they lost it, and they made it and lost it. And then what they try to do, though, is when they lose it, they don't lose it all. They just lose part of it.
Yeah.
So, I think it's part in our blood. I'm at my age now, I try not to take crazy risk. I'm always looking over my shoulder. Okay, what can bite me tomorrow? And that's one thing don't believe in any business things are just going to run smoothly. There's going to be a problem every single day. And surround your people. I'm a big believer in hiring people that are smarter than me, a lot smarter than me, but they're focused in a specific area. So I have a lot of people that work for me that I consider genius people, but they are focused in one specific area. And so managing people is the hardest part of running a big company.
We're a
predominantly what we do here, we do a lot of financial plans. We sit down and we help people, set their financial goals for the future. And I got to ask you, what are your financial goals for the future? Just to be financially independent at some point? I mean, when you think about the future for yourself,
Well,
what does that look like, Gary?
I've made a lot of money. I've lost some money. I've, I love working. Okay. It's not just working, it's building something. So it's exciting when you see pieces of the puzzle and you're putting them together and all of a sudden everything's fit. And that's what's so unusual about this company, of being my fifth public company. I've never had one that the pieces of the puzzle came together so well. And then I've never done business with the federal government. Like you said, we won a $245 million contract for a little company that last year did $15 million of revenues to win a $245 million contract.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We're the only ones that can provide it. When they put it out on dove.com, it said U.S. Antimony Corporation is the only company qualified to bid.
What's amazing is you were running this company and even you didn't have that foresight, which just shows you in life, right? Like a lot of these things, it's to your point, you make your own luck, but you put yourself in the right position, but you can't even foresee something like that.
No, but when I did recognize when the DOD came out, I got to move on this. And so I brought people in, we started courting, we started doing all the things we did. And, that contract took 8 months of negotiation. In fact, they came to me and said, okay, you're limited on your price increase on antimony in any given year to 10%. I go, you're crazy. I just witnessed a 500% increase. Why would I limit my contract to 10% a year? They go, well, that's our standard formula. I go, well, guess what? I'm not doing that. And they go, well, what do you mean? I go back to the Pentagon and tell them I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And so that took 2 months, and it finally came back and said, what can you live with? I said, I can live with another 500% increase,
Oh yeah, Gary.
And I said 500% over $30 is a whole lot better than 5% over $5. So
that's awesome.
And we got it.
So cool.
But I think a lot of the other companies I've seen recently get government grants, and I know those companies really well, and I think there's some money being doled out that hasn't been vetted very well, is I guess the best way to say it.
I feel like with government, that's probably always the case, right?
Yeah, there's such a desire to get critical minerals and rare earths going in the U.S. that you're going to make mistakes. They're moving so fast.
Right.
Yeah, they're going to make mistakes. And they've made some already. I could name 2 right now.
Yeah, what are 2 big mistakes? Or
I
you can talk
can't
about
name them.
Yeah.
But
fair enough.
News reporter I was with at breakfast this morning, he knows them, and they'll come out.
They'll come out, right? That's pretty cool. Yeah, and I'm curious too, because obviously you seem like the quintessential, just like American risk taker, and obviously it sounds like you can swing for the fences, which is really cool. But what's a big mistake you made in your career that you learned from that now you mitigate risk because of? Can you give us a story?
Easy answer: too much debt.
Okay.
When I was in the oil and gas business, I put on too much. We were growing aggressively, and the banks were falling all over us. So we'll give you high yield debt, and do all this, and I'll never forget when I was a small company, it's maybe 50, 60 million in assets. I was doing an $80 million acquisition, and I was Bankers Trust back then, and they came to me and said, "Hey Gary, we can finance this as 100%." I go, "How?" And they go, "100% high yield debt." I go, this is high yield when it first came out. I go, what?
They're called junk bonds. We call it high yield as a euphemism.
Yeah, we call it you. The rest of the world calls it junk bonds. I go, so how exactly does that work? They go, well, we'll give you, we can finance this 100% with 10% money, interest only, unsecured, and you don't have to pay it back for 10 years. I go, I've died and gone to heaven. That's great money in our capital intensive business.
Sure.
That works great if you know what the price of your product is. But when oil and gas is going like this,
yes,
and I got no control over it. Now I can do some hedging around it, but that's a mistake I made. And so I look at the mineral business the same way. No, you really can't handle debt. You got to just use equity.
Which actually is a good question. I mean, with right now, obviously, we have OPEC they've got the spigot open. The U.S. is obviously producing more oil than ever. Russian oil, we know, is getting to the market. Venezuela, you name it. And prices obviously been pretty muted. What's your long-term view on oil? Do you think, obviously you've seen the Wild West. Do you think we'll see the Wild West days where it shoots up again over 100? Is that?
It's funny. I got in the oil business in 85 after being a banker, and oil was like $38 a barrel. And then 80 and 86 is went to 11.
Well,
So I've seen it go, all the way to 122 and all the way back down. Today, oil is $63 a barrel. Now think about that. Inflation for the last 40 years has been
much higher.
Oil should be trading at $250 a barrel. So, it's a tough business, is what I'm saying, and that's why there's fewer oil and gas companies. That's why Wall Street has kind of shied away from fossil fuels. Of course, the EV movement has helped cause that. Countries like Norway won't invest in fossil fuels, pension funds and stuff. So it's a tougher business, and we've been able to be successful having all this production because of technology. We went from vertical drilling to horizontal drilling. I drilled one of the first. We called it a turnorizontal. Then it became horizontal. And then we did fracture simulation, which never had been done. Now we're doing huge fractures. Nobody drills a vertical well anymore. Everything is pretty much 99% horizontal wells. And you go down 10,000 feet, you go horizontal another 10,000 feet. Think about that. That's miles underground with a pipe this big, and then you're fracking, and the technology is incredible. We've gotten so efficient that we, are depleting the resources and opening up areas that couldn't produce before.
Yes.
And that's what has enabled production to continue growing and to meet world demand. And everything in this room has oil in it. The sofa, that table, that light, everything has oil in it.
Everything was transported.
Everything. So,
yeah,
you think, hey, I'm bullish on long term, but right today, there's probably 3.5 to 4 million barrels off the market to keep prices at $63 or $65 a barrel.
Right.
And Venezuela, which has the largest oil reserves of any country in the world, is basically doing nothing.
Right. So if that comes back online, then wow.
If we were smart, we'd just take over the country and we'd have the largest oil reserves in the world.
He's Venezuelan. How do you feel about that?
Every Venezuelan I know, loves their country but hates their government, right?
Yeah. No. The Venezuelans would love. I think the government.
It's a beautiful country,
yeah.
And we're crazy. Puerto Rico and Venezuela is right there, and the Chinese are sending ships over there, and they go, well, why is the Chinese sending ships? Oh, we're protecting our Chinese citizens in Venezuela. How many Chinese people were in Venezuela? So we better wake up. The rest of the world has been laughing at us for 20 years, and thank God we got Trump in office. That we're taking a strong foothold and looking like an American world power, which we are.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So Gary, speaking of Trump and the EPA, what's been the difference so far? With the EPA now under Zeldin.
That's a good question you ask. We have been intentionally, with all of our mining operations as well as our smelting operations, stayed away from federal land, whether it be BLM or Forest Service, because of the regulations. So when we got into Alaska last year and started leasing our lands from the state, and then we also started filing for our permits. We have to get mining permits from what's called the DNR, which is the Department of Natural Resources. We filed those in May, and we were expecting to be mining all summer and never got our permits, and on and on. So I had a groundbreaking kind of exercise about a month ago up there, and the head of the DNR was there, the commissioner for the state. And I'm giving my little speech to everybody out there. We were actually in the field, and he asked me, he says, well, why don't you build a smelter up in Alaska rather than trucking our antimony to Montana? I said, well, why don't you give me a permit?
Yeah.
And he goes, what do you mean? I said, we filed permits in May. It's September. I don't have a single permit. What's the deal? So he didn't want me talking about that publicly, so he asked me to come to his office after the little deal, and I did, and I said, I've got a federal contract for $245 million. I need your antimony to smelter it, and you won't give me a state permit. What the heck is going on?
It's
Do I
insane.
need Trump to call up your governor and say, hey, I'm getting ready to take some federal action here. The state's not moving fast enough. He goes, you'll have all your permits in the next 10 days.
Done.
Got them all. Every single one
Incredible.
before the end of September.
So you missed the whole season, though.
Yeah, but I did. I missed. That's the problem. A great point. We start. That was going to be our mining season. We're done in 6-7 days. We're done. It started snowing.
Well, and how much antimony can we mine here? And do you own mines as well as part of your?
Yes. So we made a decision right before China cut off all antimony shipments. Not that we were that perceptive, but we went to Alaska. Alaska has always been, for the United States, the best place for antimony. Antimony served the Korean War, Vietnam War, and WW1 out of Alaska. And again, the reason no antimony's mined there today because prices were so low that nobody could make any money.
Not worth doing it, right?
And antimony many times is found with gold. So most gold people were up there looking for gold, panning or digging around the rocks, and they would find antimony and go, oh gosh, we found this crappy antimony, and they go the other way.
Yeah.
So all this antimony stuff was piled up. And so we went to the Geological Society of Alaska I took a geologist, an engineer, and we sat down and walked in this conference room. And these three guys walk out, and they look like Moses. Their beards and hair. And my geologist like, oh, I'm not worthy to be here,
Yeah, right.
And we asked him, we said, hey, we know antimony's been found in Alaska. Where is it? So for an all day on a big screen, they showed us all the places in Alaska. Next day, we rent out helicopters and we were dropping pins. I leased it all up.
No way. Wild.
I beat everybody.
And when was this?
Summer of last year.
So it was before prices.
Before prices took off.
And do you really need to mine at that point, or can you just take the tailings from the gold? I mean, is that...
Well, what that is, we were actually, I tell people, we're not really mining, we're picking up rocks.
I love it. Yeah.
I mean, we're going out there and picking up rocks. And now, it's a 3-phase progress. You pick up the rocks, then you do trenching, and you find out where the veins are.
Okay.
Then you do backhoes. You backhoe the antimony into super sacks, and then eventually there'll be open pit mining, and there may be some underground mining. So it's a process. It'll take years to go through it all.
Okay, so it takes years to actually get that antimony. And then in terms of just like what demand's going to be versus how much will we be able to source domestically over the next couple of years?
We think in Alaska we can have about 1,000 tons a month, which is a lot. And it's the highest grade antimony. That's what's really important. It's 40-60% stibnite, which means the concentrate of the rock is 60% antimony. So you don't have that much waste rock.
Okay.
Like I'm getting antimony from some countries are only 5, 10, 20%. So a lot of waste rock. So that makes it, to be able to make military grade material, which is called mil spec, we have to have 60% antimony to go through our processing facility.
Okay. Wow.
And that's what that contract is, that 245. What we will make is called antimony ingots. Looks like a gold bar, but it's an antimony bar.
Yeah.
Weighs about 5 pounds. And we stack that on pallets. It's stamped. Every one of them is stamped. They have to be registered. And then we wrap it with shrink wrap on a pallet and ship it to the government. It's just used for stockpile. So if we have a war, they'll take that antimony and give it to Northam or Boeing or whomever to make products with. So it's kind of like the core piece that they'll need. It's 99.7% antimony bars, ingots.
That's wild. So at some point, will we be 100% antimony, I guess, independent, or?
I'm going to make sure we are.
So it is possible, I guess.
This country is not going to be dependent upon anybody else.
Are you from your perspective, do you have the risk of a lot of other, I guess, refiners coming into the business? Does that become a problem?
I get asked that all the time by institutions.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, you got the only two, antimony
you build one here in
smelters.
New York.
I go, why didn't somebody else go build? I go, where the hell are they going to get the antimony? Who builds a refinery without feedstock? Who's going to go build a $100 million refinery with no feedstock? Now, I'll give you a perfect example. The country of Oman built a huge antimony refinery.
Okay.
It's shut down.
Because they can't get
Been
access
shut
to
down
it.
for 2 years. They can't get antimony.
Is that just because you were so quick to get all those leases?
No,
Or?
it's because it was built poorly. Our smelters, I have 17 furnaces in one and 16 furnaces in another.
Yeah.
We can run multiple products, different things. They built with one huge furnace. You run that smelter at 95% occupancy of occupancy or nothing. You can't run it this and run that. It wasn't.
You can't ramp up. You have
You
to
can't.
be.
It's all or nothing. They tried to run it at 40% and never made any money.
So it's very hard. Is the
Yeah,
long
it
story
was
short?
poorly planned.
So, Gary, you talked about the Chinese being your biggest competition before. What's happening now with Chinese imports? Are we slapping tariffs on them, or are we just not importing any antimony at all?
No,
from
they
from
won't.
China?
They won't. They are now an importer of raw ore into China because they need it so bad, and they're not exporting anything. And that's another problem. Like countries like Australia, who were selling antimony to China, wanted something back.
Yeah.
China goes, "We'll buy it, but you're not getting anything back." So that's why countries are coming to us.
Because you'll refine it, but you
And we'll
also
give them the
some
material back if they want.
Ah, okay.
Like
Wild business.
the European Union right now,
Yeah.
I'm negotiating with them to, okay, look what I just did for the U.S. government. You're going to, with NATO, Trump's made them all jump up their, amount of money they're going to put in the military. I said, you're going to need the antimony just like us. And so I'm talking to them about contracts.
Does the government have any restriction over that? Will they restrict the amount that you can send to them?
As long as I meet the government.
Right. What do they care?
They
Right.
care.
Free
We
market
care.
after that. Yeah.
In fact, they've been very careful. They don't want us to hurt our industrial customers. We have 17 industrial customers. Take
And that's who you originally had, right? When you started when you started
Right
working
now,
the
that's
business,
all I've
you
had.
were just working with industrial
Yeah.
customers.
I mean, I haven't delivered my first load yet. When we signed that contract, they gave us a $10 million order a week later, and we're trying to fill that now. We'll try to do that before the end of the year, and then they're going to give us another $50 million order. So, looking at the time value of money, I want to fill that $245 million contract as fast as possible. I don't want to wait 5 years. I'm going to do it in 2.
Right. So you can actually go out and get other business.
Well, they'll maybe
Yeah.
reload,
Right. Ah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess one question, just retrospectively, if you give your younger self advice on business, money, investing, like what would you tell yourself, the younger version of you, that would be good advice, maybe to veer away from some.
Well, I'm not recommending everybody do it the way I did it because it was tough. A lot of people in their 20s are out dating, chasing tail, and doing whatever, and I didn't. I waited till I was older to do that, but
It's when you became a golden god in China.
It comes easier when you have a little money.
Yeah.
But so my 20s were going to school at night and working my tail off. I did very little dating. I just had my nose to the grindstone, trying to.
Want to be successful.
I wanted to be successful, and so I would, I have a 18-year-old daughter that I just put into Washington University this year.
Congratulations.
And she's, got a 4.6 GPA, speaks Mandarin and French fluently, and she wants to, be in computer science. I go, honey, you speak Mandarin. She'd been taught Mandarin since she was 3.5 years old. I said, the CIA is going to have a black Suburban sitting out front of the school when you graduate, because that's where, computer science with Mandarin. I mean, this day and time. But there's a lot of kids in school majoring in computer science. I mean, obviously with AI technology and all that's going on, and that's what everybody's thinking. There's no question, though, we can't forget that you got to have access to hard rock minerals. You got to have oil and gas. Don't get away from the things that allow all this to happen. And that's what I think the big fallacy of our government. We turned a blind eye, and it wasn't just Democrats; it was Republicans for the last 20 years, and watched China with their 100-year plan go around the world and tied up all these minerals, and then cut everybody off.
Wild.
And we're playing catch up like there's no tomorrow. And that's why you're seeing the government run around trying to do all these deals with these different companies. And it's not going to happen overnight. Can it be fixed? Absolutely. With American ingenuity no doubt can be fixed, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
And, people go, well, where do you go? I go, I'm going to try to fix this. I'm not only doing antimony, I'm going to do tungsten, I'm going to do cobalt. I think those two are the other two critical minerals I know our government needs, I know the DOD needs. They're telling me, go find tungsten, go find cobalt. We need it.
And you have the blueprint already, right? You know how to do with one critical mineral. You can probably do with some other critical
And I
minerals.
can use tungsten, I can take it into our own refineries. I don't have to build a new refinery. So,
Makes sense.
So we're out looking hard trying to find those products. You'll see some news over the next 30 days about some of that.
All right, so last question, nothing to do with anything we've asked before, but we asked all our guests this question. If you could think of one song or album that you heard in your youth that changed your perspective on how you saw the world, what song or album is that?
Oh, all my songs in my 20s were love songs. Bread and,
Nice.
But no, I would say, let's see. I will tell you this. I sing Johnny Cash songs.
Really?
I'm a big Johnny Cash guy. I sing at karaoke bars all the time.
You got that deep, smoky voice. I can see how it would work.
So, Ring of Fire, Walk the Line, Man in Black, Folsom Prison. So if you at some karaoke bar in New York, you might see me in the back singing to everybody. So I sneak in, and go, okay, anybody know me? Okay, I'll go sing. That's how I get my entertainment. So
That's awesome.
So I was in Nashville about a year ago. I don't know if you've been on the Broadway street down there. It's crazy. And I walked in a karaoke bar and it was packed. And I go up to the guy, the DJ. I said, okay, what number am I if I'd sing a little Johnny Cash? He goes, oh, you're 97. I go, here's a $50 bill. I go, what number am I now? He goes, you're number 2. I was in and out of there in 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Payne Points of Wealth. Hopefully, you found the ideas discussed in this episode valuable and useful for your own financial journey. You can find out more about Bob, Ryan, and Chris's firm, Payne Capital Management, at bebullish.com or through the contact information found in the description of this episode in your podcast player or app. Join us next week for another episode of The Payne Points of Wealth, brought to you by Payne Capital Management. Information provided on today's show is provided for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Investment is obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed.